Hey guys, One Hit Wonder here, with this edition of Plugged In Short Circuit, where I'll be talking about the recent announcement of a particular game and one platform that it's not going to be on, unfortunately. Now, this past Wednesday, there was an announcement for a game. A pretty big game, in fact, a pretty big IP, Mortal Kombat X. But this time it's going to be Mortal Kombat XL. It's the same game as Mortal Kombat X, which came out last year, but it's going to be basically a complete package, a Game of the Year version, if you could say that. They're calling Mortal Kombat XL, which is going to include the base game and all the additional content that has come out so far, including the Combat Pack 1 and the soon be coming out Combat Pack 2, as well as an updated netcode for the game to make online matches much more better. Sounds all good and awesome, right? Well, the trailer that had the announcement had a pretty disturbing thing at the end. That disturbing thing being that if you pre-order Mortal Kombat XL, you can get exclusive bonus costumes. The thing they're calling the cosplay pack. Now you're probably wondering, why is this a bad thing? Games today, unfortunately, always have pre-order bonuses. Well, this is a pre-order bonus for a game that's advertised as saying it's fully complete and everything is in this game. This is the whole game plus every extra content. Yet you decide to add more content for pre-order people only. Do you see the problem with this? Do you see the problem with having content that is pre-order exclusive to this game as opposed to this is from a complete version of the game too, and you're putting pre-order content? That is unbelievably a terrible business practice by, I believe, WB Games, who, quite frankly, has not been doing well enough to ensure the trust of its consumers. Like I said, this is a complete package touted as, the full game experience. But then you have to go ahead and do this pre-order bonus crap. How else are they going to get this thing if they don't pre-order? Huh? Are you going to make an XXL version a year later? And say, no, this time we have the full experience. Oh, by the way, we're going to throw in a pre-order character. You got pre-order again, there's no other way. We'll just put the full experience on XXXL. Ay, ay, ay. Warner Brother Games has not been the best of publishers, if you ask me. Now, granted, NetherRealm, there's a debate going on whether or not NetherRealm shares responsibility as well. In this instance, this seems totally like a Warner Brother game practice than anything else. Now, granted, Mortal Kombat X did come at the beginning of its launch with a pre-order character, Goro. And there was no other way to get him unless you pre-ordered. Again, that seems to be on WB's hand, and that is a stupid tactic by publishers these days to try and guarantee pre-orders. But it's not a good one consumers, unfortunately. And consumers are starting to catch on, and they are realizing there's no why support these pre-order practices. But that's not the only thing I want to talk about. News also came with the XL announcement of the fact that they have decided not to port the Combat Pack 2 and the improved netcode to the PC version. Basically, leaving the PC version for dead. And of course, the PC community is not happy about that, as they feel like they've been stabbed in the back by NetherRealm and by Warner Brothers Games. And this is on top of the poor PC launch. If you remember back last year, when the port came out for PC, it shipped with a variety of problems, including bad performance and very bad netcode, which made online fights almost unplayable, and also made matchmaking queues hours long without finding any match. Completely unacceptable. Now, if you remember, Warner Bros. Decided to use the PC players as a guinea pig of sorts and decided to launch the game using this new thing they wanted to test out. I believe it's something that Steve and Valve were trying to test out too, where it would kind of procedurally download the game in different packs, I guess is what it was. So basically, you're downloading the game in chunks. You could still launch the game when you got the one chunk, but when you launched the game, you notice that a lot of the options were missing. And even on the fighting screen, characters were missing as well, and you couldn't choose them. Why they decide to do that is anyone's guess, but they basically decide, we don't care that much for the PC players. Let's just experiment with them. I know that sounds a little weird. That's because it probably is. Now, WB Games, they have definitely turned into something that's not ideal. If you remember back then when EA decided to, screw over the consumers with a bunch of DLCs and a lot of microtransactions in their games. Yeah, that was a bad time for their games, and obviously when they launched Origin, all their games for PC were exclusively going to be on Origin, undercutting Steam, of course. But Steam will have taken some money out of that. So business-wise, that made sense. But it meant consumers had to go to a different digital distribution platform like Origin, and it's not that bad. Initially, people were making it out to be a bad thing because they didn't think it had anything on Steam. But I think we kind of learned to accept Origin as a different distribution service. But, back then, they had DLC, they had the microtransactions. We didn't like it. It seems EA has kind of tried to dial back on that a little bit. But, there's still that mistrust there. But now it seems WB Games, Warner Bros. Games, has turned into, dare I say it, the new EA. And when it comes to PC ports specifically, they have been very, very naughty. If you remember back with Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, made by Rocksteady Games, or Rocksteady. Great games, by the way. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, two of the best Batman games, in my opinion, right there. Two of the best Batman games. When it comes to PC parts, they've been kind of sketchy. Well, Arkham Asylum, I'm going to give a pass. But Arkham City, it had kind of a rough landing or launching. Mainly because it had Games for Windows Live tied to it. But eventually, it would get that stripped, and they would have moved straight over to Steamworks, Steam's /Valve's client for games, or Softworks for games, or something like that. And it definitely became a good port, although minus the thing. Then you get to Arkham Knight, which came out in the summer of 2015. It launched pretty well on PS4 and Xbox One, but the PC version, oh boy, if you were here for that, for the PC version, it was a train wreck. People reporting various performance issues. People thinking this game was not optimized at all for the PC. It ran like crap, especially with the Batmobile. It turned into a literal slideshow. That is never a good thing in a game. That a game turns into a slideshow with frames per second, and it would be micro-stuttering and freezing and running terribly. This was the state of Arkham Knight when it first launched, and it could be the state now. The PC version was not developed by Rocksteady. It was developed by Rocksteady, but it was ported to the PC by a third-party developer that Warner Bros. Games decided to outsource to. And the the same thing happened to Mortal Kombat X. They outsourced it to a different developer. I understand that sometimes that a team of developers is a little stretched thin during the development of a game. But Warner Brothers seems content to outsource the PC ports of their game to different developers. And this is what happens. The original developers have little to no say in its porting, and the third-party porters that WB Games sends does a terrible job. Whether it be to save money or to speed up the time of when the port can come out to the PC and match along the side of the console release. But you see what happened with Arkham Knight. Now, granted, Warner Bros. Did take it off the store in June, but it wouldn't be until October 25th until it came back on the Steam store with some interim patches for Rocksteady saying, we're going to fix it. And it took them all, 3 months, all those months to do it. And even still, it was definitely a lot better when it came out, but it still had some issues according to some people. So, basically, it's fundamentally broken, which is unfortunate. And the PC audience deserves better than that. The PC audience definitely deserves better than that. And, it's definitely hurt Rocksteady's credibility, even though, granted, they should not have farted the blame for this. It should have been Iron Galaxy Studios all the way for the PC port. Because PS4 and Xbox One, those versions were pretty good. But why outsource the game for PC? Do you just not care about the PC audience, WB Games? Do you not want to show the PC audience respect at all? Clearly you don't, because you're like, oh, we'll outsource this. And Warner Bros. Games, you have published some great games in the past. Great games like... Oh, I gotta think now. No, great games like the indie classic Bastion, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, and great game you published. Mad Max, another good game that had a good PC port. But, a lot of that has to do with the two developers behind those games, Monolith and Avalanche. Monolith doing Shadows of Mordor. Great PC publishers, great at developers, sorry. Great at developing for the PC. Avalanche, great developing for the PC, great optimization. You've seen that in Just Cause 2, and you see that with Mad Max. But WB Games, stop outsourcing the PC ports. Because this is the second time it's happened. And the second time it's happened to one of your big AAA IPs. Outsourcing game development to another developer for a port is not the best idea. This is the third time I've seen it happen, and the third time where it's not been good. The other example was Deus Ex Human Revolution. Overall, IDOS did a great job with that, but unfortunately, because they were strained for manpower, they had to outsource parts of the game to a different developer, and those are the boss fights. And it's widely accepted that the boss fights were the worst part of that game. A less offensive reason, I guess, because the game still ran good. But you get what I'm saying here. Warner Brothers has definitely lost the trust of the PC audience because of the poor launch and performance of Arkham Knight, the poor launch of Mortal Kombat X, and this business with Mortal Kombat XL, and the fact that Warner Brothers Games and NetherRealm Studios are abandoning the platform. And as it has not sold bad on the PC. It has sold pretty decently. So shame on you, WB Games. The PC audience deserves better. And frankly, this is not a good... I know you're in the business of making money, but this is not a good way to make money. This is not a good idea. Wouldn't it be better to invest some money into the PC audience? If you provide a quality product to the PC audience, they will buy your game and they will support you financially. Then you have 3 revenue streams: PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Of course, Wii U, you pretty much abandoned them too, but that's another story, I guess. So why not treat your PC client base with respect instead of abandoning them and giving them a terrible quality product? You gotta do better, WB Games, and you have tons of great IPs you're sitting on. But you gotta treat the PC people better, and abandoning them, putting out crappy ports, and just not caring for them is not the way to go, and it's sure to lose you money in the long run. This has been One Hit Wonder for this edition of Plugged In Short Circuit, and I'll see you next time.